First day in pads. We'll go back and we'll look at the tape. I mean, there were some things that I thought there was a couple of pretty good runs that I saw in there. Again, we'll have to see the tape and see exactly, what they would have looked like in a real life situation. But there were some good things that I saw today. Again, I saw the ball go down the field a couple of times, some explosive plays. Got another punch out on defense. So there's some things that, both sides of the ball are doing really well. I think the biggest thing is that, our guys are competing. And, when you get talented players and they're willing to work and compete, they really don't have a choice but to get better. So we got a long way to go, but I like the direction that we're headed right now.
Yeah, did you see what happened between Alante and Cedric Wilson?
I did not. My assumption is that Cedric was probably blocking Alante and he didn't like being blocked. That would be my assumption on that particular play. It was a running play, and said, came on a fast motion. Alante was tracking him back across, so that would be my assumption that's what happened. And that would be fairly standard for a padded practice and training camp, and yet we have to understand that those aren't things that you can do in a real life game. So we've got to be able to kind of manage those and get those under control a little bit.
How do you say it's one of your favorite days?
Yeah. I mean, it's the first time since January that we've had an opportunity to play real football, or simulate real football, and so I always enjoy putting the pads on, and then the big thing is you're trying to find out who likes the noise, and really who doesn't like the noise, and this is a tough physical game, played by tough physical people, and you have to be willing to stick your nose in there and create a little contact, absorb a little contact, and be able to make plays within that. I thought Shaheed made a really nice play today on a contested catch across the middle. I think that's something that we have to be able to do. We have to be able to catch the ball in the middle of the field and know that, we're going to have to absorb some contact in that situation. And 99 out of 100 times, you're going to get hit, so you might as well catch the ball and finish the play. So, but yeah, I do enjoy this part of the game.
How much could you gauge, I guess, offensive line in general and maybe Trevor as specific? I know you said you saw some runs you like, but how much can you gauge off today?
Well, it'd probably be easier for me to look at the tape first before, kind of coming back and saying, something and then having to, change my opinion once I see the tape. Look, I did think from standing behind, I thought there was a few plays where I felt like, the runner was getting into the second level of the defense on a couple of these plays prior to having to deal with any sort of contact. And so that generally means that the runner is taking the right track, all right, and B, that the offensive line is getting on the right people and creating a little bit of movement.
What was your impression of how Chase Young looked in that?
I think he got 3 plays, and the first one kind of bull rushed back in there and, got a little bit too close to the quarterback for me, but that was, that catches your eye when a guy's able to, walk the offensive tackle back into the quarterback. I think that's something that he can do, and so, I thought I liked what I saw in those 3 plays. I think all 3 of them, by design, were pass rush plays, and I think we'll see, gradually a little bit more, out of Chase as we go into practice. This was all kind of part of the plan, to kind of work him back in, and so we got him a couple of pass rushes in a team environment, which I thought that was that was good for him, both physically and mentally, I think, to be back out there.
We can obviously see that Mason Tipton can get deep. Is he a guy that can run every year out though? Is he polished and so?
Well, I think we'll have to see. I think he's got the skill set. He's a smaller player, but he's got some real good quickness and he's a savvy route runner. He's got some football awareness. And so I think he understands kind of how to play the position. He's got really explosive speed down the field. So I think as we go throughout training camp, we'll have to see, what are all those things that he can do. I think he's proven that he can run deep. And now we'll have to see how does he execute in some of the underneath stuff, and can we get the ball in his hands quickly? Can he get some run after catch? Those types of things. But I was telling someone the other day that he reminds me a little bit of, on the defensive side of the ball, I had Chris Harris in Denver 2011. We had the lockout, and nobody knew who Chris Harris was. He was an undrafted free agent out of Kansas, but every day he showed up out there. He worked his tail off, competed at the highest level, and every day he did something to catch your eye. And next thing you know, you're 2 or 3 weeks into training camp, and he's done something to deserve an opportunity to get more opportunities. And so I think I like some of the things that I'm seeing out of him.
Dennis, would you say that Willie Gay has been, just in a little bit of time here, has been the guy you hoped he would be when you went out and got him?
Yeah, I think so. From this standpoint, from a big, physical, athletic linebacker that I know is going to come in and practice hard, work hard, compete, do all of those things. And so now I think the biggest thing for Willie is, continuing to get into the playbook and continuing to study and continuing to understand all the things that we're asking him to do. I think he's taken some steps forward from where he was in the spring. I think there's still some steps to be taken there, but I do think that each day he continues to get a little bit more comfortable and play a little bit better. So, I'm pleased with what I've seen, to this point, but now we're only into installs 1 and 2, so we really haven't even gotten into, our third down stuff or 2-minute or red zone or any of that type of stuff too. So hopefully he'll continue to, be on top of everything as the volume of defense picks up a little bit.
And would you say that Pete Werner has had a good start to this camp too?
Yeah, I think Pete's had a really good start to the camp. I think there's going to be some competition at the linebacker spot. Whether that be for linebackers 1, 2, and 3, is it for linebacker 4, 5, and 6? I think that's a room that's got some guys that have some ability, and now they just got to be able to come out here and show it on a consistent basis.
How quickly is Willie grasping his role? When you talk about, he's still got some bits to learn, but so far what you see, does he grasp it, the concepts quickly?
Well, I think he's improved a lot in training camp from where he was in the spring. So obviously he spent some time over the summer, studying the playbook and trying to make sure that he was on point with everything. He's still got a ways to go in terms of that. And I know he's working extremely hard at it. And then, look, at some point that becomes our responsibility to make sure we're putting him in the positions to do the things that he can do really well, and trying to minimize or limit the times that we do things with him that maybe he's not really in his wheelhouse.
Dennis, how would you kind of describe the process y'all taking, marrying the run game with the play action game that y'all have done and kind of making it all look similar?
Yeah, well, I don't know that you really talk about what's the process. This process started years and years and years and years ago, in terms of what the offense looks. The foundation of this scheme, has been around, for a long time. I think, as Clint's been around, he's taken bits and pieces from, what he knows that Rico and John Benton have done and understand, and what his dad did, and what Kyle Shanahan did. He's kind of taken bits and pieces of that and kind of morphed that into, our own, flavor of this offense. But I think, you know, the biggest thing is we're trying to give a multitude of looks with a few core plays that we can run over and over, and just change the looks up for the defense. So it's simple for us offensively, and yet it's complicated for the defense. And so how do we make this run concept and this play action pass look the same? And then what window dressing, you know, can we put on it to cause conflict in the defense?
Yeah, with Chase, just in terms of his timeline, was this always a target in terms of potentially getting him back in the team, or is that just
Well, I think once we he met with the doctors when we got here on the 22nd, and he was cleared by the doctor for full participation. So I think at that point we probably accelerated this timeline just a little bit from where we probably initially thought it would be or potentially could be. So I like where he's at right now. You know, we're going to continue to be smart with him, but I think each day you'll see him ramp up a little bit more and more every day.
Is that a credit to how he attacked his rehab?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a credit to, you know, Dr. Watkins and the surgery that he did. I think it's a credit to our training staff and the work that they've done with him. I think it's a credit to him that, man, he did everything that our training staff asked him to do, to a T. And then I think it's credit to the good Lord, credit to his mom and dad, because they're the one that gave him the healing genes, you know. So there's probably a lot of credit to go around, it sounds like. So, but he worked extremely hard at it, and man, I'm excited about seeing what he can do.
Dennis, we saw Saldivari leave early. Do you have any updates?
Calf.
Yeah.
It seems like every day there's guys out here continuing to work after practice, a little bit, things like that. What does that say about the buy-in of this team?
Yeah, look, everything that I've seen and heard has been positive in terms of the buy-in of this football team to what we're trying to do, and I think this team's excited about going out and playing this season. And so now, look, we're practice number 5. You know what I mean? And so, but look, this game that we play is a tough game, and everybody has the same goal at the end of the season. Everybody wants to win a championship, you know, and yet the reality is there's only one team that's going to do it. And I said this the other day. I mean, like, I don't know exactly what it's going to take, but it's going to take whatever it takes. And so that means you might have to put in a little extra effort and a little extra work post-practice. You might have to spend a little bit more time in the film room. We might have to spend a little bit more time taking care of our bodies and recovery and things of that nature. You know, so I think the guys have taken to that, and they understand it. You know, because again, there's no shortcut to success in our league, and it takes a lot of hard work. And everybody says they want to win, and everybody says they want to win at the highest level. But is everybody really willing to do what it takes to do that? And it's not easy. And so that's what, you know, I've tried to impress upon our guys, is that, you know, you have a job to do, and whatever that job is, you have to be able to get that job done. And so whatever work you have to put in to be able to accomplish that, then that's what you have to do.
What do you see from Paulson and Debo so far in this game?
I think he's picked up, you know, really where he left off. I think he's been really sticky in coverage. I think he's been, you know, competitive at the catch point. You know, there's been a couple of plays that have been made on him on crossing routes, but he's been right there in position. And I think if you put yourself in a competitive position, time in and time out, that eventually, you know, those plays come your way. And so, yeah, I think he's playing at a high level right now.
Has he kind of elevated himself to one of the premier corners in this league, or do you think like that's something maybe he can prove this season?
Yeah, look, I think, yeah, I think that's still something that he's trying to prove. I can't speak for all the other corners in our league. I can't speak for what anybody else feels about, you know, the corners in our league. I can tell you that I'm glad that we have him, and I can tell you that we rely on him and his ability to cover. And I have zero challenges putting him in a coverage situation against whoever you want to line up against him. And so it's a comforting feeling for me as a head coach and a defensive play caller.
Dennis, because of Marshawn's injury history the last couple of years, how concerned are you with what he's dealing with right now? Or are you happy that it happened early in camp?
Well, look, I think anytime guys, have injuries and miss significant time, and then all of a sudden, you get to training camp and, they're dealing with something else that's going to cause them to, miss some time. It's concerning, and yet it's not. I'm not losing a lot of sleep over it right now. I think the good news for us is I do think that we have some good players at the corner position that can pick up the slack when he's unavailable, and I think our guys have been able to do that over the last couple of years. And so certainly I want him to get healthy. I want him back out here. I think he's a big part of what we do defensively. When we're at our best, he's playing at a high level, and so hopefully he'll be able to get his rehab done and get back out here sooner rather than later.
When it comes to
Last one, please.
when it comes to prospects who either maybe didn't grow up playing primarily American football or maybe didn't grow up in the United States, and scouting, considering them seriously, how much has that changed over your coaching career, to now, and how much more of that do you think there'll be?
Well, I don't know. It's a tough question. I mean, I think you have access to, with all the technology and everything that we have now, we got access to a lot more people and things. I mean, you pick up your phone all the time and, somebody's, got one of these, whatever that's called, Twitter or whatever it is, and they show one of these videos of some rugby player or somebody doing something, so I think there's more information on people, and so it allows you to do a little bit better job of trying to scout those guys. And look, I think, the reality is there's probably, you want to make sure you're turning over every stone, and yet the reality is that, for every one of those guys that makes it, there's probably another, I don't know, 15, 20, 100, whatever the number is that don't pan out, But I think anytime you get a guy that's got, size, speed, athleticism, and they're willing to work, I think, it's kind of worth a shot when you're talking about a 90-man roster. All right, guys, thanks.